Hello there, thanks for tuning in to Canada, the Advanced Racing Analysis. So this is a review of the virtual Le Mans race. I think it went pretty good and has as much action as we could have hoped for. So if you watch the real Le Mans and watch the virtual race, so you had as much action as you could want, and even more. So it was pretty good. So how did my picks do? I had picked the team redline cars to do well. I think they did pretty well. They were competitive and they did pretty well. They didn't win because they did have mistakes, and also the of course Ferrari. Actually, the car I picked in GT, I talked about in GTE. So it ended up being the most competitive Ferrari. So the number 52 with Charles Leclerc. The only thing is that watching Charles Leclerc in his personal stream, he looked kind of flustered driving. He was. If you didn't know who he was, you might think that he's a rookie racer. He just didn't seem like someone who's a seasoned professional and someone of his stature. But because he was kind of sort of out of his environment, and wait while I cross the street here. The ByKolles, they had the pole position. They were leading for a while, and then they got called for a drive-through penalty. I have to say that without that drive-through penalty, they could have won the race. So without the drive-through penalty, they might have won the race. So because they were second, so they came back multiple times, and they even had the issue, with the steering, and still came back from that. So they could have won the race without the drive-through penalty because they only lost the race by 17 seconds. So 17 seconds of the drive-through takes, almost half a minute. So the actual winner of the race is Rebellion Williams. So Williams is a car is a team we don't expect to win the race, at least not currently. Not in F1, but right now they're winning Le Mans. So if this was real, so right now in the virtual world, Williams has won Le Mans, and they're about to claim the F1 Drivers' Championship with George Russell. So that's kind of the virtual world has pretty much put everything upside down. Everything that we expect is upside down. And ByKolles was second at Le Mans, and they almost won Le Mans. So things are completely different in the virtual world. And Porsche had a very competitive race, so they were Porsche was very competitive, and I like, Porsche. It seems like I think they put a lot of resources into it, especially trying to figure out the setups. So they probably had multiple simulated sessions with different setups because all their cars were competitive. The only car initially that could keep up with the Porsches were Romain Grosjean's team. I watched their preview of the race because they got together as a team to make a preview and talk about, their assault on Le Mans, and with Daniel Juncadella and Matthias Bech. Those are pretty fast drivers, but they just don't have the name recognition, so the casual fan probably doesn't know them very much. But they were very competitive, and not just competitive, but they were competitive in the Corvette racing, in the Corvette racing car. So it's and not just that, competitive racing car in the Corvette, they beat the factory Corvette team. Beating the factory Corvette team is not a mean feat. The word is that the factory Corvette team, Corvette racing, they do not like losing to a team competing a Corvette. That's why the word is. It's a rumor. I don't know if you remember back in the in the early 2010s, there was a team, Lou Geladi Motorsports, with Lou Geladi. So pretty much he had Riley build them a Corvette car. It was not from Pratt & Miller, it was a Riley built Corvette car. And he wanted to companion at Le Mans, but he got rejected by the ACO from entering Le Mans because, according to him, he speculated that Corvette racing is the one that told the ACO to cancel his appearance. So according to him, Corvette racing had the ACO not accept his entry. So that was his speculation. Hold on while I cross the street. So yeah, and also other teams that used to compare the GT1 Corvette in Le Mans, some of the teams said that, they would get all the updates from Corvette, during their regular races because it used to be GT1 World Championship back then. So, but once Le Mans came, they wouldn't get all the competitive updates from Corvette. So, yeah, so beating Corvette in a Corvette is actually a big deal. It might not seem like it, I'm sure they want to talk about it, but it's a big deal being a Corvette. There are teams that want to campaign Corvettes, but they don't get the chance to because Corvette kind of limits who gets a Corvette and who doesn't. And right now they have only let Lauber campaign a Corvette in GT2. But there are teams who would like to campaign a Corvette in GT1. In the GTE Pro class. So, but they haven't had the chance to. Alan McNish was interviewing Roger Penske. And Roger Penske was actually asking Alan McNish if he would be available for consulting work about hosting a race, a long distance endurance race. He said 24-hour race, but it could just be a long distance endurance race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It was shocking to me. It seemed like Alan McNish seemed to be hesitant about accepting the invitation about consulting for Roger Penske. This is like anyone's dream job. Even Alan McNish. I know he has he's the leader. He's the team principal of the Audi Formula E squad. But still, can you really say no to Roger Penske? Can anyone really say for sure say no to Roger Penske? I'm wondering. It's just all right. Give me a second here while I cross the street. All right, so him saying no to Roger Penske is like, whoa, that's like, that's like almost like a dream scenario. Penske asking you to consult for him, to be a consultant for him. No matter what else you have going on, it's still, no matter who you are, it's still a good gig. It's still a good, it's still good. So, and all right, speaking of Penske, so Penske was one of the teams that did not have a professional driver, along with United Autosport. So how did it work out for them? In fairness, it didn't work out. So it was kind of expected, and I'm sure they knew it because in the simulator world, the professional drivers are actually the Pro-Am drivers because the simulator drivers are just faster than them. So I just match faster. It didn't work out, but they understand. They knew it, and they just wanted to go along with it, and because they know that's not where their glory comes from. So they know what they have achieved in the real world. So for them, it doesn't mean much. So out of the drivers, the professional drivers, who's the driver who could most afford to quit his professional racing career and moonlight or have a second, moonlight or be a full-time sim driver? From qualifying, you have to say Stoffel Vandoorne, because he was the only driver. He was a 6th overall in qualifying among all the simulator drivers. Corvette, they weren't competitive early on, but then you saw that strategy came into play. Strategy came into play very much, and it kept them in the hunt. And they didn't make the podium, but they were 4th and 6th. So 4th and 6th is not a bad result, considering that they were not competitive early on. But qualified strategy comes into play. Except that they lost to Romain Grosjean's team. So Romain Grosjean's team actually made the podium. And Corvette didn't make the podium. So they finished 4th, and Romain Grosjean's team, RAG, finished 3rd overall. Excuse me. So Romain Grosjean's team finished 3rd overall, and Corvette was 4th and 6th. But still, so he did good. And considering that Porsche had an armada of 4 cars, in the race, and there was Ferrari, and you also had a factory Corvette team. So a team that Romain Grosjean put together was competitive with Ferrari. So he was the only one able to keep pace with the Porsche outfit. the only team early on. Later on, the Ferrari number 52 came into play, but that was later on, and they didn't last. But so that's a very good team. So that's some serious organization. Even though, despite his F1 intakes and the way he performs in F1, so it shows that hey, he could be a team principal one day. So he knows about organization and putting everything together. So so kudos to him. So very good work to Romain Grosjean. Simon Pagenaud, during the race, he had to switch out the simulator. Pretty much he wanted to switch out the wheel, but I guess the wheel was attached to the seat, so he had to switch that out. So he did that. I mean, who would have thought to have a second spare simulator? I wonder if every other Penske driver had a spare simulator in their house, just in case that happened. But that's amazing to think of something like that, to have the foresight. That's amazing to have the foresight to expect something like that happening. So I wonder, I mean, maybe he knew that his simulator had a lot of miles on it, and he figured, hey, let me just be ready just in case. So, but that was amazing, because that could end the race, and unless somebody took over while he was there. But he had to go to the pit for someone to take over, so that could have ended the race. Speaking about Fernando Alonso, so he was out of the race, and he made so many mistakes early on, and pretty much he was out of the race. I think he ran out of gas. I don't quite remember what happened. So, but when they had the red flag, and the red flag came, and then because R Factor had the issue itself, they put him back in the race and gave him a number of laps to catch up to the pack, to the main pack. And a lot of people were not happy about it. But like I just said, we're not here to watch the simulator drivers. We're here for the big names. If this was a race with all simulator drivers, I don't think I would be watching it. Maybe I might watch it, but it wouldn't have the same, it wouldn't be televised. You wouldn't get that many views on YouTube or on TV. ESPN is not going to televise it. So we were all here for the big names, for the F1 names, and the biggest name in there was Fernando Alonso. End the story. That's my view, and thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. So we look forward to the actual Le Mans and more e-races, our next race. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe and leave a comment.